Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. So in this video we're going to work on a very simple project. It's a vine tail S-hook. This particular S-hook I'm actually using on my Blacksmith's coal forge to be able to hang fire tools from. And I hope you guys will enjoy this video. It's a real quick, fun, beginner project, and let's jump right into it. Okie doke, so the first thing in this process to actually create this vine tail S-hook, and probably the most difficult part of this whole process, is to make sure that you have enough material. Curves eat up a lot of material. Anytime you make a hook or you make scrolls, they just eat up massive loads of material. To make this S-hook here, I had about 18 inches, 18 right on 19 inches of material. So, you know, here in the US, so whatever that is in metric, sorry, didn't figure that out before the video. Anyways, so that's a lot of material to create an S-hook this long. We're going to be using a slightly smaller bit of material. This is 1/4 inch round rod or 6 mil diameter round rod, and this one happens to be 16 inches long, so whatever that is in metric. My metric friends can drop their comments down below and let me know what that is. Still learning the whole metric thing and need to get better. So let's get this hot. The first step, we're going to draw out a taper on both ends, and then we'll scroll this up. Okay, first things first, we're going to go to the far side edge of the anvil, and we're going to forge a 1 inch long taper. We start by forging that down square, like you see me doing here. You want a nice, long, thin taper like that. And we're going to take it to octagon with our final bits of heat, and then we're going to round it right on up. Now, depend on how much of a vine you want this to look like or how smooth you want your finished product to be. You may want to spend extra time rounding this up or sanding it perfectly smooth. But if you're going for the vine effect, it's okay if there's some lumpy bumpies along the way. That's perfectly all right. So there we go. So there's our one taper. Now, this other end was from a different project that didn't go through. So I already have a 1 inch taper. So we'll heat this back up and we will scroll it up. Real quick thing about that is you want to make sure that both ends are tapered exactly the same. That's the only thing that you have to do. And then also, watch it now that it's in the fire. Remember, we started with 6 mil or 1/4 inch round stock, so it won't take long for that tip to get hot. As in, it's already hot now. So back to the far side edge of the anvil, we're going to start rolling our tip down and tucking it right in. Take that right down and just keep scrolling that right on up. Now you have a bit of a choice to make when you're doing this. You don't want to make this end here any larger than what you're choosing to hang it on. As you see, I have some pretty big loop handles, but say if you're trying to go through, say, like a 3/8 hole drilled in the end of something, or a small punched hole, you don't want to make this little rat's tail end or this little scroll end very big. But because I'm hanging larger tools, I can scroll that up quite a bit, and this will still fit over it to be able to hang from it. Always make sure to take a coffee break. Ah, that's good. Not a sponsor, by the way. Unless there's a coffee company out there that would love to sponsor this channel, then hey, why not? Everybody's got to have a little coffee in their life. All right, keep scrolling this right up. Just trying to even that up. You don't have to hammer this like crazy. As you can see, this is a lot about finesse. Get nice and clean. There you go. You can see how that's working. So next we'll heat this again, and then we'll start kind of rolling out a hook on it. Now I can do all this over this, or you can go over a horn, or if you have a mandrel, you can hook it around a mandrel, or anything like that. If you're going to do a bunch of these for, say, a customer, I suggest you making yourself a hook jig. Take time for a coffee break. Still good. Now that you've got this end rolled up, you want to make sure it's sticking up in the fire. You don't want it to be pointed down where it's getting into the air blast and burning up the end. Okay, so now that I've got this hot, I'm going to go over to my quench tank real quick. I'm going to cool off that end we just rolled up. And then I'm going to bend this the opposite direction. I'm going to keep it in line. Again, I'm kind of free forming this a little bit. You can do it over whatever method you would like. Totally up to you. Totally valid. I always like to give them a little bit of a back in, bend in. How long you leave this length here is completely up to you. Some like to see it perfectly no straight in here whatsoever, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you need to actually make sure that whatever you're hanging won't jump back up and off, and a lot of times it's nicer to have a longer, like a J hook on the end. So there's the first process. So I'll go cool that end off, and now we'll work on the other. Since this piece is getting so short now, I'm going to use a pair of wolf jaw tongs here. I've got a video, I'll leave it linked up somewhere here, on making these out of some 1/4x1 flat stock. They're a very lightweight pair of tongs, and they have lasted quite a long time. So again, I've got a tutorial on that, how you can make these for yourself. So if you're interested, you can go watch that video. The links for that will be down in the description. If you don't have tongs, you can use vise grips or anything else that can hold these pair of pliers. This is small stock, so it's fairly easy to use whatever you'd like there. All right, now on for the fun part. We're just going to start rolling this. Any old direction, doesn't really matter which. If you have a specific thing in mind, then adhere to whatever that specific thing is. But now we're going to change direction. This is the key. We're going to change 90 degrees to our first scroll. And I might go ahead and roll it over the horn of the anvil to get it started, and then start whacking on this thing in just different directions to get this to start behaving in a way that you normally would not make these things behave. So we don't want this to just be straight in line, because then it wouldn't be like a vine. Vines are usually pretty unruly, so just keep that in mind. Don't try to force this thing, a square peg into a round hole, right? Like, you've heard that analogy. Well, in this case, we're not trying to force a round peg into a square hole. We want this to be really nice and fluid. The more you try to be accurate with this portion of it, the less it actually sells it as a vine. All right, nice and hot. Again, every time you go into the fire, be very careful, very, very careful on how your, where your little end is here on this vine. Brush this up a little bit. And now we're gonna go ahead and set out for our next dimension. And our next dimension, we're actually going to heat this piece up, and we're going to roll it that way, like an S hook. So now we've created this weird little viney tail. As you can see, it helps sell it that it's not all going in the same direction or the same plane once we bend it. Get this heated up again. Couple ways of bending this. You can bend this with a bending fork like you see here that's simply made. I believe I've made videos on these as well. I'm starting to lose track of the videos I've made. I've got 1,450 of them plus here online. So you can make them with a 1-inch Hardy shank and then just bend a piece of 3/4 inch round into a U. There's a bending fork. So you can use a bending fork to bend this. You can go over the horn and free form it. You can grab a pair of tongs and bend it. Really, choice is up to you. In this particular case, we're going to just go ahead and continue on our path of bending everything free form. I feel like this can give it more of a natural look. The only one problem with it is say if you get something unsquare, you'll have some interesting forging challenges, you know, as to hold the piece and how to hold the piece and where to bend it from and where to bend it to. You'll have some things that you'll have to work through with your hammer work and hammer control if you don't use a form or something like that. So there we go. We're starting to get there. You guys can see that now. This area in here is too tight to really lip over the lip of my forge. So we will go ahead and heat this thing back up, and I'll bend a little bit more out, and then that will create the final bit for the hook. Remember, coffee break. Still good. You rotten devils almost let me forget. You should have been shouting, coffee break, Roy, coffee break. All right, so I'll bend this out just a bit more. That'll give me some space. We'll go ahead and work on this. Not gonna quit there, guys, not gonna quit. Told you we're going to do it free form, and we will. All right, there we have it. Last thing on these, you can go ahead and use a little bit of boiled linseed oil if you would like. You can use whatever you like, whatever your favorite thing is, beeswax finish, or you can just dunk it and cool it and just let it be like this, especially if you're using it in my particular application. So now I'll just check my forge. It hangs on the forge nicely. And so that's all I need it to do. Might require a little bit of tweaking, but it hangs on the forge nicely. So that's it. That's just a quick beginner project. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like and comment down below what you think. And if you'd like to support what we do here at Christ-Centered Ironworks, you may want to check out our website over at blacksmithpdfs.com and consider getting a power hammer plan over there. Anyways, that's it for today. God bless you. Thanks for watching.